Hey everybody, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and this is my detailed review of the Bushwhacker Pocket Style Flare Set, available for your 2010 to 2014 Raptor. This detailed review is going to cover what you can expect with the Bushwhacker flares in regards to construction materials, what they're going to offer when installed as far as functionality and appearance, and then finally what it takes to get them installed onto your Raptor. And one of the nice things about the Bushwhacker options here is that they do install without the need for any drilling or cutting, so expect a very strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on my difficulty meter. There are a few steps involved, but again, you should be able to accomplish this one in your garage or driveway without issue, and I'm going to have a little bit more detail coming up later on. The pocket style flares from Bushwhacker should appeal to the Raptor owners out there looking for a little bit more coverage compared to your factory flares, and maybe a little bit more of an aggressive styling thanks to the included hardware and rivets. Now, these are going to be one of your pricier options here on the site in regards to aftermarket fenders, but again, they will install with no drilling whatsoever, and they are going to work with both factory and aftermarket bumpers. Now, Bushwhacker is definitely one of the leaders when it comes to producing aftermarket flares and accessories for a wide variety of applications, but mainly with a focus on the truck and Jeep aftermarket. Their flares range from everything from stock OE style flares to crazy big and over-the-top flares, kind of like what we have here, and everything in between. Now, I don't have to tell you guys this, but the factory Raptor is a pretty tough looking rig in stock form. The factory flares seem to do a good enough job in the looks and functionality department for most owners out there. However, like anything in the truck and car aftermarket, owners are oftentimes not satisfied with the factory parts, maybe looking for a little bit more appearance, a little bit more functionality over those factory parts, so they start changing things out. The Bushwhacker pocket style flares here are a perfect example of this. Not only are you going to toughen up the look of your truck by adding the pocket style flares here from Bushwhacker, but you're also adding a little bit more coverage for those stock or aftermarket wheel and tire packages. For the front, you're going to be looking at 3¼ inches of coverage from the body line to the outside of the fender, and for the rear, you're looking at 3½ inches of body line or coverage for the rear wheels and tires. As far as total height for the fender flares, you're looking at 5½ inches for both front and rear options. So again, this is a lot of extra coverage you're getting for the side of the truck, protect it from rocks, mud, whatever debris you might encounter on or off-road. As far as construction, you're going to be looking at a Duraflex 2000 material here that Bushwhacker does utilize for their pocket style flares, and essentially this is going to be an ABS compound. So it's going to hold a lot of abuse or handle a lot of abuse without really showing it. This is really important if you enjoy your Raptor, taking it off-road, riding some trails, hitting some mud pits, as they will stand up to some abuse here, but if you do run into any issues, Bushwhacker does have your back with a limited lifetime warranty. The Duraflex 2000 material is kind of giving off this matte black appearance, which I think looks really good. It is finished off in a UV resistant coating to help resist any fading over the years, or chalking as it's sometimes called. However, this material is easily paintable, so if you're not a big fan of the contrast that these are going to offer, you can totally have these things body matched to your ride. It might give off a totally different look. Staying with the appearance a little bit more here, guys, you'll notice the pocket flares do include the hardware or rivets to be used with this particular style fender flare. Some of you guys might be into this look, others not so much. I will say the fender flares do look right at home on the Raptor. Definitely adds a more aggressive appearance overall to the already wide, already imposing truck. Now, that added size, coverage, and appearance does come at a cost, as these particular fender flares are going to set you back roughly $500, which does fall in line with the rest of the Bushwhacker options for other trucks, but I will say they're not hitting you with the Raptor tax like I have seen with other products before. Switching gears, let's talk about install. And again, like I mentioned at the very top of this video, there is absolutely no drilling required to get the pocket style flares in place here, but there are a few steps involved. So with that said, I am gonna stick with 1 out of 3 wrenches on my difficulty meter, albeit a strong 1 out of 3 wrenches, and maybe a couple of hours from start to finish. As far as basic tools here, guys, for this install, you're gonna be looking at a socket set and wrench, a Phillips head screwdriver, a utility knife, a plastic non-marring pry tool to help you remove those factory fender flares, and then finally a grease pencil or dry erase marker to help you make some marks. I will say that Bushwhacker does include all of the hardware you need for this install, along with some very detailed instructions which should help you along the way. Before you even get started with the truck itself, go ahead and install the hardware onto each fender flare using the included rivets that Bushwhacker does include with the kit here. Once all 4 fender flares are ready to go, you can start by removing the factory fender flares on your Raptor using that non-marring pry tool. Once those are out of the way, remove the yellow clips that are in place in the fender, and then go ahead and clean the area. Grab your new flares and secure them to your Raptor using the included plastic push pin retainers, and do this on all 4 corners. Once all 4 fender flares are in place, go ahead and grab the included trim and trim tool, which is a white piece of plastic, and use that to help you get the rubber trim seated between the fender flare from Bushwhacker and the sheet metal of your Raptor. That's pretty much going to wrap up your install, guys, after you nail all 4 corners. But again, I do want to remind you, no drilling, no permanent modification here, so I am going to stick to strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on my difficulty meter, and overall getting all 4 flares in place should take you a couple of hours from start to finish. While the factory fender flares on the 2010 through 2014 Raptor do a good enough job for most owners out there, there are definitely some owners who prefer a little bit more coverage for those more aggressive wheel and tire setups, and maybe a slightly more aggressive look thanks to the included hardware. If you're the latter, then you're definitely going to enjoy the pocket style flares from Bushwhacker, which you can find right here at AmericanMuscle.com.